I thrive. I do really well in tough conditions. You have to be able to back yourself. If you don't think that you can win a race from the start, then you're really disadvantaging yourself. Even just with the mentality, the winner mentality you have to go into a race in order to win. I probably think I can win a lot of races, and that's the attitude that I would take into the race. And then you still have to play out how the race is going to go and interact with each, situation and opportunity that you get. But coming into Paris-Roubaix, the team from the very beginning had basically picked this as a key race for me for the year. It had been set up on my training peaks as the key race for the spring. There's a lot of other races in the spring that I wanted to target to win. But when we got down to it, I hadn't accomplished those goals yet. Coming into Paris-Roubaix, I really had this burning fire, really just built up my tenacity or courage to be in the action of the race in Paris-Roubaix.
Paris-Roubaix Femmes winner, Olympian, and current Canadian National Road Race champion Alison Jackson is back for her second appearance on Choose the Hard Way. Tour de France Femmes is coming up July 23rd to 30th, and Alison is a major favorite for a stage win. Her EF Education Tibco SVB team is expected to animate the race, and there are sure to be fireworks. Alison is also well known for her work as a creator and storyteller, and you can find her dancing and making cool videos on Instagram at Action Jackson. Find that link in the show notes. This episode is a collab with the inimitable Spencer Martin, the sheriff of Valmont Bike Park, a co-host of several high-profile cycling podcasts on the We Do Network, and the author of the very best pro racing analysis newsletter, Beyond the Peloton, which you can find at beyondthepeloton.substack.com. Find that link in the show notes. Like Voltron coming together one more time, Spencer and I co-host the Beyond the Peloton podcast, where we analyze the latest races and happenings in professional cycling, coin the names of strategic moves like the reverse Geraint Thomas. You'll have to go listen over there to hear what that actually means, and provide a perspective I can guarantee you will not find anywhere else. In my first interview here on Choose the Hard Way with Alison, we talked about her rise as a pro cyclist and storyteller, and you can find that episode, of course, everywhere you listen and at choosethehardway.com. In this episode, we go deep on how Alison forged a race-winning mindset on the bison farm where she grew up in rural Canada, how she's approaching the Tour of Femmes, her thoughts on leadership and team building, a really deep look at that win at Paris-Roubaix, and much more. I know I've been promising a dance video collab with Alison for quite a while, and what I can tell you is that it is indeed in the works, and it will be dropping soon enough at Hardway Pod on Instagram. Stay tuned. Choose the Hard Way is a podcast about how doing hard things is fun, and it also builds stronger humans. Please help more people find this podcast. To do that, just hit subscribe wherever you listen and rate the show 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. I appreciate everyone who has hit pause and gone and hit 5 stars. And please share this episode with someone you care about. Go to ChooseTheHardWay.com to sign up for the newsletter. And if there's someone you think would make a great guest or you'd just like to be in touch, please send me a note to ChooseTheHardWay@gmail.com or hit me up at HardwayPod on social. I love hearing from you, my valued listeners. You can find those links, as always, in the show notes.
I just listened to your episode with Andrew. So you mentioned you're from Canada, a farm in Canada. I feel like you guys underplayed it. I looked this place up. It is unbelievably far north. It must have been a brutal environment that you grew up in. Were you cycling outside at all in the wintertime? Tell me a little bit more about your upbringing in this absurdly rural, absurdly far north Canadian town.
No, I hope you didn't look up Fort Vermilion. Fort Vermilion is actually really far, in the northwest corner of Alberta. I'm just east of Edmonton, so it's still north, but it's more central Alberta.
I think of Calgary though as so far north, and then I'm like, Edmonton is further north. Oh my God! It's just it's almost. Is it just -40 all winter?
Well, it It literally can be, yes, but not all winter.
Okay.
It's usually more around like -20. So
Oh,
that you can still do activities
balmy.
outside.
Hey,
Yeah.
you're out. That's practically a sauna.
yeah. You actually have to worry
I
about
mean,
overheating.
you just get the ice crystals stuck to your eyelashes that you have to, diffuse every so often so your eyes don't glue closed because of the cold.
I think Goop has a product that handles that. So, Allison, I'm curious, do the bison stay out year round? Are they good to go in those kinds of conditions? I know we have a lot of bison fans out there, Buffalo fans in Boulder, right?
Yeah. Bison, they're naturally a wild animal to this area. So absolutely, they can take care of themselves in the winter. They're built for that. They were doing that long before we tried to care for them. And mostly on my farm, my ranch, the bison just roam. We just got a lot of land, a lot of free roaming range for the bison just to keep to themselves. And yeah, the just like glorious animals out pushing the snow around.
I believe a lot of the bovine in North America, what we think of as cows, have been bred with bison like hundreds of years ago to then give them that hardy gene so they can stay out in these super cold North American winters. But don't fact check me on that, but I like the story.
I'm actually already gonna squish that theory down. That doesn't happen. It's like basically, I mean, one time I think we had like a bison get loose, and then there was a beefalo baby made, but it ends there. They can't reproduce after that, so it actually it just end of the line there. And even cows now, they actually still, like, if you're a cattle farmer, you have to really take care of your animals like over the winter, make sure they've got like indoor space that they can run around, or you have to like really check on their water and feed and everything. There's a lot of like hands-on stuff you have to do. So we always say the bison is like the lazy man's cattle because you actually don't need to do anything with them.
Interesting. So Andrew and I were talking about this before you came on. Do you live in, we interviewed Kristen Faulkner at her beautiful palatial Spanish mansion earlier this year. Do you live full-time in Europe, or are you in Canada and then you just fly over there to race throughout the season?
No, yeah, I set up shop over in Spain in Girona. And yeah, I mean, I always say I have like 3 temporary homes, and one of that is like still at the farm, at my family farm, where all my mail gets sent. And then I have another place I stay, Abbotsford, BC, so just outside of Vancouver, which really is my favorite place in the world to ride and my favorite place to train, and got a lot of great roads and terrain there, and friends from university and friends from the cycling community. And then basically all year from February to when the season ends, September, I'm in Europe, and just flying in and out of Girona to the races and back. Just setting up a nice Spanish casa to live in.
Nice. And so do you have to train a lot back at the family farm, or are you mostly in Vancouver when you're doing your off-season training?
Yeah, mostly in Vancouver. But I do a lot of Alberta box rides when I am out visiting the farm. And when I say Alberta box ride, because everything in Alberta is so gridded for like the farmlands that it's just like 90-degree turns all the time. And the roads, there's 75% of the roads are gravel in my area. From my farm, if I start riding on the paved road and take the first possible right turn on a paved road, the smallest lap I can make is 150K.
Whoa.
Yeah.
How's the wind out there?
It's the direction is always a headwind.
Yeah.
It's actually,
Spencer and I both grew up in the Midwest in the US, where, I mean, it's the same thing. It feels like whatever direction you're riding, when you head out for a ride, it's relatively flat. Although we've been doing some investigations of the geography where we're from today. There are allegedly 1,000-foot high hills at this race we're doing in the fall. We don't believe that. Nonetheless, it seems like it's windy every direction you ride when you're in Missouri or Kansas.
Yeah. I feel like when I'm out on the ride, like in the summer, I'll wear headbands and earphones, and whether I actually play music or anything in the earphones. Basically, it's just like cut that wind noise. Because I think actually that's one of the most exhausting things about riding in like the open plains. It's just like the wind in your ears.
I'm like getting flashbacks to this. I used to worry actually a lot about like hearing loss from the wind. And then now that I don't live in a wind tunnel, I don't worry about it as much, but it is like really loud. It can be really loud in your ears, just nonstop. There's like stories of like settlers going crazy because of the wind. Like they just start hearing voices because the wind is just like in their ears all the time. And I buy it because it is nuts. And Ian Boswell was saying slanderous things about Kansas riding. Do you recall this, Andrew, on your podcast? And I kind of support him. It is brutal. This is probably why you're so good, Alison, because you're out at Roubaix. Everyone thinks it's miserable, and you're like, well, we get turns. This is there's a curve in the road. This is like easy for me. I'm not on a straight road for 150K.
Actually, that is so I plan my routes by trying to either like get as much elevation as I possibly can. So I'll find like one ravine and then just try to like ride in it and out and then in it again, but like on different roads. But it's so far in between that you can get like through the ravine and on the other side. Or I'm looking at the map and I'm just trying to find any road that curves a little bit. And literally it's just going to be this like really wide bend in the road. But I will ride like 50K just to get this one little bend and be like, woo!
But it's funny because Vancouver, I'd say complete opposite of that. That's like a cycling hub, probably super interesting riding. You said, is that your favorite place to train, even more so than Girona?
Oh, totally. Yeah, because in Abbotsford, so just outside, you got tons of country roads. So you can, and it's quiet. So quiet, small country roads where the grids are much closer together, like the side roads that you can take than in Alberta, where it's going to be like miles, at least a mile until you can take another turn. But yeah, here there's so many different options to ride, little, different ways to get to wherever you want to go. But then you've got like a really great like classics course of hills where they're going to be like a K or a little less or a little more, but then really steep, and you can just like hit up all these like climbs a ton in the area near Fort Langley. But then you got like bigger mountains, and you've got like North Shore mountains like on Vancouver that are like long climbs that you can do. But there's like like the three big climbs out there like to the ski hills that are right close together. So you got options. Then out like more in the valley, you got tons of different climbs and riding that you can link them all together. And then tons of like gravel roads and mountain biking and the Forest Service roads that you can go and explore that are, a pretty good gravel and steep or whatever. There's just such a range. And then, but you're always like never too far from home. Great coffee shops along the way. Yeah, there's so many options. Yeah, I really like the riding here.
And Alison, are you on the mountain bike or gravel bike that much during the road season?
Yeah, I'll ride the gravel bike quite a bit. I mean, before there was the whole, specific genre of gravel riding, I would take my bike and I would ride anywhere, on gravel and whatever. I mean, even around my farm. It's actually really nice that we have, specific gravel bikes now with the wider tires that just allow like, you don't like cut into the gravel so much, because in Alberta, the gravel is like really soft and very pebbly. So you would just basically with a skinny tire, you'd like, be slicing down to the ground in it. But yeah, out in BC, there's tons of just like, I just love exploring or seeing something new or riding a new road. And there's tons of different ways you can do that. And I mean, really any bike can do it. It can be easier and a little faster and a nicer ride if you have, more specific equipment for it, like a gravel bike or a mountain bike. But yeah, I love bikes. I love riding anything.
And so just to set the stage a little bit or set the scene. So you win Paris-Roubaix earlier this year. It's a big deal. You probably talked about it ad nauseum. We won't make you walk through that, step by step, but just to give the listeners a little bit of background, if you're not familiar, I would say that's probably the second biggest race on the calendar, third biggest race. Like if you do Tour de France, Tour of Flanders, Paris-Roubaix probably would be tied for second, then maybe the Olympics. So a really big race. Can you just walk us through a little bit about going into like what type of rider you are? Like, were you expecting to be a contender there? And then as the race unfolded, like, did you go into it thinking, I think I can win this? Or did you kind of get into the break? I don't think we saw the break form. I think the TV coverage came on and the break was because I turned the TV on. I was like, oh, wow, I don't think this is coming back. It didn't come back. But can you like going into that race, like, were you expecting to be a contender to win, or did you that kind of like happen, as the break was forming? You're like, well, I'm up here. I'll try to win now.
Well, no, I've always been like a rider, as a feature rider that could do well in this race for the first two editions. Like, yeah, it was 24th and then 13th. So like, in the I'm the type of rider that like suits this course. So just be like, I thrive. I do really well in tough conditions. So, and then I'm a great like classic cobbled rider. One day races are also great. If it's going to be harder for others, it's better for me. And then, if it comes down to, if it's a hard race and it comes down to a smaller group and then it's a sprint, then it's also like, that's when I can win bike races. So yeah, always, maybe not the top out and out favorite, but always, on the teams that I've been on, the favorite rider for that team or an outside favorite coming into this race. Like, I mean, you have to be able to back yourself. If you don't think that you can win a race from the start, then you're really disadvantaging yourself. Even just with the winner mentality you have to go into a race in order to win. And this race, I probably think I can win a lot of races, and that's the attitude that I would take into the race. And then you still have to play out how the race is going to go and interact with each, situation and opportunity that you get. But coming into Paris-Roubaix, the team, when I signed with EF Education Tibco SBB, they, from the very beginning, had basically picked this as a key race for me for the year. It had been, set up on my training peaks as just like the key race for the spring. There's a lot of other races in the spring that I wanted to target to win. But when we got down to it, I hadn't accomplished those goals yet. And so I think, coming into Paris-Roubaix, I really had this like burning fire of like I really wanted to win, a one-day classic and hadn't done that yet. And I think that, it really just like built up some sort of my tenacity or my, I guess, like courage to be in the action of the race in Paris-Roubaix. So yeah, the thing is too with Paris-Roubaix is so much is out of your control in this race. The mechanicals, the crashes, the flat tires, the crashing, all these things are just heightened. There's a higher chance of any of these things that can happen. And I mean, the first year I crashed 2 times and was 24th. The second year I crashed once and was 13th. And I just thought, like, if I have a race where I have no crashes and I have a clean run, then for sure I'm going for the win. And that's always what I believed going into this race. So, and then I think just from like watching how the season had played out before, and just seeing like how dominant of a team SD Works is, and our team plan had a lot of the time been to, kind of wait for the key moment and then hope we can, make it, when another team kind of sets the pace. And, it just really wasn't working. It wasn't working for us. It hasn't been working for other teams. And so coming into Paris-Roubaix, it's a race that if you can get ahead, we see this a ton in the men's race, that early breakaways or people who ride the breakaway can actually last quite a long ways. And I think for this year, for the women, we had our course was longer than it had been. So we added this, longer sort of 15K lap before getting into the cobbles. And it really set the race up that we could set something up earlier, that a breakaway could go. In previous editions, we just basically did all these fast crit laps before going straight into the cobble. So everyone's racing for positioning the whole time. Nothing was going to get away. It was just so fast and crazy. And then you get into the cobbles and it's just, again, a positioning race and fast and crazy. So coming into 2023, figuring that actually, just telling all my teammates, like, we need to be in that breakaway or try to make it happen because that's the best way to sort of get ahead. For me, I'm really good in the chaos and the positioning, so I didn't need to be in that front breakaway in order to make it when, the hard parts were going to happen. But I didn't want us to miss out on it. And at that point, I just wanted to make the race happen. I wanted to be in the action. I didn't want to wait, for anything to happen. And so, yeah, when the moment came, basically, I think, we had done a couple small laps and then right on to the big course. We came out of the start town, and it's a bit technical before getting onto the big lap. And that was when, the brake went, I bridged to it and then just started rolling, and that was it. It had a rider from most of the teams. And so everyone just sat up and let it go. And once, everyone was really committed to it. And once we had the 5.5 minutes, then it was like, okay, yep, this now is, I'm not saving anything for, trying to make it when the group comes back to us. This is the tactic that we're going with. I'm going to invest totally in that. This is going to be the race winning move. This is the opportunity that I have for myself. And then, rode hard, tried to motivate the others by example, by just riding. Then, we made it.
Alison, a question for you that I bet is top of mind for a lot of people who are watching Unchained right now or who have finished the series. And Spencer and I have been doing a series taking a look at Unchained. But if you watch Unchained, you would think that the only thing that's happening on the communications happening on your radio with your team director is just the team director screaming, go, go, go at you. Is that actually what's happening, or is anything strategic being communicated on your radio with your DS or teammates?
Yeah, I mean, when I got on the break, it's my teammates first that would see that I'm there. I radio to the team car, just letting them know that I'm the one in the break. My teammates are saying, no one's chasing. It's good. But the comments I get from my DS was like, Alison, what are you doing? Why are you the one in the breakaway? That was not my role. So I was getting the negative feedback like, this is too early or whatever. But for my race feeling, take out my radio. No, my race feeling was just like, no, this is, I believe that this is going to be a good thing. And it was, a great makeup of riders. And then later, when we were getting 5 minutes, then the DS comes back to me just being like, this is a great move. I was like, yeah, I mean, I knew that, right? So then, and then really at that point, we're so far ahead from the peloton. I wouldn't be able to hear anything from my teammates, only just from the car. Their radio antenna has a further reach. And then it wasn't until the team car could come up into my group that really you can sort of communicate a little bit like that. And then more so, it was just I knew the course really well from recons and from a lot of study. So knowing where the cobbles are and the different notes and stuff we have on our head unit on the bike. So then really it's just the team card giving me information of what's happening behind. So the gap started to come down, what's happening in the back. Oh, there's a crash. Oh, there's these different attacks. And then, also I was getting a lot of feedback about, Alison, you're working too much. You're doing too much. But the thing is, that's from the team car, what they can see, but they can't, they don't know how I'm feeling. And also I really had to trust my race instinct at the time, and knowing that I really believed that I could ride real hard and ride in the front in the moments that I chose, and still be able to, try to do something in the final. But, a lot of times, a lot of the girls in that breakaway were being told from the directors, don't do any more than someone else. Don't do any more than someone else. Well, if everyone's being told that, and this happens a ton in women's racing, where everyone's being told that, people start negative racing or riding, skipping turns, and then the breakaway dies, they get caught, and then they're left with nothing. And I know this is a trend in women's racing. I know that was one of the strongest in the group. So I was going to show that I was going to give more than enough effort So then all the other girls, well, if they're still doing less than me, but they're still riding quite well, we're going to make it. And then, yeah, the group did get smaller and smaller. And then, we try to determine whether it's better to be in the group or be solo. I mean, to come into the velodrome solo, you know that you've got the win. Anytime you come in a sprint, there's always just like the chance of winning is less. If you're solo, the chance of winning is very high. And whether I believe I'm the best sprinter in the group or not is still just a gamble with, timing and positioning and whatever else. But yeah, most of the feedback then from the team just through radio communication was just what was happening behind and what the gap, where the gap was going, which is important information because at one point, I'm being told we're not looking back so often. But then being told, that they're, 9 seconds behind, and then you look back and you see that they're so close. And that was like the moment where I was like, no way, I'm, 5K to go. I'm not letting this, I'm not letting all the good choices that we made for 140K, just go down the drain in the last 5. And so that was when we put in a real big dig and then started to hear that, the gap was going out again, and then just, relaying that to the rest of the girls in the group, just like, this is our moment, we have to ride. And then, yeah, after that, when it comes down into the sprint, also my DS, in the end, you just have to allow me to think less. And that was, my motto for the day was, don't think, just do. And so, then when it comes into the final bit of the race, you just have to trust in, the experience of being a good bike racer and feeling out the race, and then trying to take the win.
Yeah, because Andrew and I both thought you were doing too much work, but it's actually, I don't know if that logic totally holds up now I think about it, because if you don't do all that work, you guys get caught. Lotto Kopecky wins. Like Lotto Kopecky, it's like the end of Avengers Endgame, where it's like, I've seen this a million times. There's only one way this works where we can beat them. Like, she's the same way. If you guys just go to the velodrome, she's going to beat you. If you don't pull enough, she catches you, beats you. Like, the only way you could have won that is the way you won it. So you were right. We were all wrong in the end.
How about that?
It is kind of funny. What Andrew read my mind. I was going to ask you, like, the night before, did a director sit down with you and say, like, we've gone through the last 50 editions of Roubaix, and it actually does help a lot to be in the early breakaway. Like, that's how Matt Heyman won and beat Tom Boonen back in 2016, I believe, one of those years. Like, did anyone give you that information, or were you just kind of left on your own to figure out, like, I think the breakaway is a good place to be at this race?
Yeah, that was the ideas that I came to the team with. And I really wanted to push that to my teammates to, like, believe that, like, you got to be in the action of the race. And I think that's the thing with bike racing is we love a bold winner, someone who, like, risks it all, risks losing in order to win. And, it's so emotional when you see someone who has done that and they get caught, just before the line or whatever. And that almost happened to us. But I think, like, part of it is maybe, with my experience of being in the bike races for so long, I'm not satisfied with just like a top 10 result. And so I would rather, be first or be 18th, be 30th, but have ridden an exceptional ride. And, I think that's, like, also, if you have a team that you're really proud of riding for, or that there's going to be other athletes that can back you up, as in, I can risk it totally in this moment and know that I'll have a teammate later that can, if it comes back together, they can take advantage of the situation. But yeah, I think just like I don't want to be a bike racer that just waits or just is pack fill or just, does good enough. I want to do something that's exceptional or, amazing, or tells a great story, or rides with, passion and heart. And then it comes, a lot of times it won't work out. You might have a great ride and you won't get the result, but you have to, be bold or take chances in order to get, something as special as a Paris-Roubaix win.
Wow. I feel so pumped up right now. I feel like I could run through a wall. Honestly, like, that's, I feel very inspired. That's amazing. And I'm curious, Alison, as you headed into this race, was there anything that you did different in your preparation relative to previous years? Like you talked about, your mantra that day was don't think, just do. And was that new or different, or was there something different about your psychological or physical training as you headed into the event?
Yeah, like I came into the race healthy. Like Paris-Roubaix is at the end of 2 months of hard racing. And we also had a year of like tough weather and, people getting sick and the crashing and all of that. A lot of times you get to the end, you get to Paris-Roubaix and your body is already so rattled and you still have to try to pull out one great, performance. And I did have a crash like earlier, in Drenthe. So that would have been about, 4 or 5 weeks before this race. And I had to get, a bunch of stitches in my knee and had to do some recovery and stuff. And so, I still had, the stitches were out, but like it was still just like not like a fully closed wound even by the time we got to Paris-Roubaix. But otherwise, like health was really good. And we had we got to have a full team of 6 starters where like at that time, some teams are just like really like pulling through with their reserves. So, I mean, that's just like, you can't predict that will happen, that you'll come to a race feeling the way that I did. But I think a lot of it too, like, racing, it's so much, it's a lot about what you're bringing physically, but it's also what you're willing to put yourself through mentally. So, are you going to stick in it? Are you going to be tough? Will your reactions be, your self-talk be positive, or is it going to be negative or tiredness or whatever? But I think a lot of it, like, I had a lot of big goals for me and for the team through the spring, and we didn't hit any of them. There's other races earlier that I targeted that I really wanted to perform well in or go for the win, and just like, missing the mark. And all of that losing actually made me so frustrated. And I think it really just like, built up that fire that like I was gonna be a part of the action, or I was gonna ride this breakaway so hard because I wanted to do, if I could control anything, I just wanted to ride so hard to like make it happen. And so I think, when you look back on how the season went, I mean, if you had more successes, you'd take it a little easier because you're already confident in yourself. But just this like real burning desire of I didn't want to lose anymore. Certainly impacted how I rode.
Yeah, it's funny you talk about it. It is like you're like riding with heart and passion, but it's funny you're also riding with like mathematical probability in mind, where I think there's a complete misunderstanding in cycling of exactly what you say, where everyone wants to sit in, where it's like, well, if we sit in, we're pack fill, like we're not going to win. We have a 0% chance of winning. But if you like come out like a lion and just like take the race to them, it's like maybe you increase your chance of winning to 3%. That's better than 0. So I do kind of wonder if you're going to spark a movement in women's racing where, I'm just looking at the UCI calendar right now. Every major race pretty much has been won by one of 3 riders, except your win at Paris-Roubaix, where to like break this lockstep that SD Works has in the sport. I wonder if like, hopefully your win will inspire other riders to be like, we can beat these women if we race in like a more aggressive way.
Yeah, and some of it is interesting too. And some of the stage races we've been in, we see like other teams kind of taking up the chase instead of like, because everyone wants to be in contention for that win. So like, we all want to bring it for the chance that we could get a top 10 in a sprint finish. But okay, so now your goal is to be a top 10, or to the probability of maybe winning against the Lorena Wiebes in the sprint is so low. But you really have to you need to be able to risk losing, or to be able to put so much more pressure on SD Works that they have to chase everything down and then try to capitalize on it, but maybe not in a sprint final, but maybe in a late attack or something. But you have to be able to stay calm and I guess be able to be okay with a bit of risk and whether that risk is like going early and really fully committing to the breakaway and riding it like that is your only option for a win. Or also like the risk of like, okay, we're setting up the race, we're sending a breakaway so that we can, use up some of the manpower that SD Works has to, try to set up another tactical move later. That I think there needs to be a little bit more of that. I mean, a lot of people want to just be kind of in the results sheet or, feel like trying to give themselves a chance maybe, but I think exactly, like it ends up just being pack fill. There has to be there needs to be something different that happens in the bike race or a different tactic brought in, to try to take a win away from SD Works basically.
And sorry, go ahead, Andrew.
I was just going to say, and when you're looking ahead at the calendar right now, like what's on your mind? Where is your focus mentally in terms of this is where I want to win next? I mean, not to give anything away, but I'm sure you have a couple of stages on your mind or specific events where you're like, yeah, this is me. I'm all in. I'm going for it. So where is your head at right now?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm a super passionate Canadian. I really want to have the Maple Leaf jersey back. So, I mean, and the Nationals are near my hometown. They're in Edmonton. So to be able to win in front of my family and friends, would just be, just a real special thing. And I just love being able to, ride in the Maple Leaf jersey for the rest of the season. And really, I think that's like my race to lose. It's a little bit more of a sure thing, or I'd be a top favorite to win that. So it's a little bit different kind of pressure going into that. I would love to be able to turn up to the Tour de France with really good form and be able to put my hand up for being supported for a stage win. We do have like a great rider for the overall, so I really want to support that. I really want to see my team win, and I want to be a difference maker, and whether that is like being the difference maker is the one that crosses the line first for the team, or the one that does what, makes the decision making or does the work that makes a difference for a teammate to take the win. That's what I want to see happen for my team. I just got back from Scotland, so previewing the courses for Worlds there, and I really think the courses are suit me very well. My best World Championships was in Leuven in Belgium in 2021, coming sixth there. And the course in Glasgow is similar. It's punchy, it's technical. So I really want to gear up or train specifically for that. That would be the other top on my list for the year.
And I assume Paris 2024 is that a big goal for you too, the road race there?
Yeah. So I hope that at Nationals to take both the road race and the time trial title there, and then basically just prove to be the top Canadian for selection for the time trial and the road race in Paris. And the course is also like a city circuit. Punchy, it's technical. There'll be a little bit of climbing, cobbles. So I think it'll be a really fun course. And it's also one that sort of, gets me excited. And as a Canadian, the Olympics really means more, I think, to us, like North Americans. We're coming from a culture that is not steeped in cycling. So when I tell, people or, in mainstream media or whatever, that I'm a professional cyclist, like they'll ask, oh, do you, have you raced the Tour de France? Or like, is it like the Tour de France? Or, have you been to the Olympics? And those are kind of like validating moments. But also as a kid, like before I dreamed of being a cyclist, I dreamed of being an Olympian, and whether that was going to be in gymnastics or running or almost any other sport, I just had the Olympic dream. So that's still like that little girl dream that, sits still in my heart. So I would love to be able to compete at the Olympics. I mean, to be able to make it to the Olympics is such a hard thing to do, just to be on the team. But yeah, after being, checking that off the list by getting to Tokyo, now I just really have my eyes set on how can I, get a top performance in Paris. Yeah.
Not to take us too far back, but just to pull on the Canadian thread a little bit, because we just saw Derek G come out of nowhere and dominate the Giro d'Italia. And I was kind of joking during the race of like, it's terrible weather. Is he wondering like, when's this weather going to get bad? Like this is not too bad. Just rain every day, but it's 50 degrees. That's great compared to Vancouver Island. But like, A, what is going on in Canada? Why are you guys so good? And B, kind of how did you go from this tiny town in Alberta with I assume no cycling culture. I don't think there's a Rafa clubhouse there yet, but and then you went to school in British Columbia. You were running, doing triathlon. How did you kind of turn that corner? And then what was the support like within Canada, to get you to the level where you are now?
Yeah, for sure. There's no cyclists in my town. And, that was not something that I saw happening. But I am, I'm a yes person, and I love experiencing new things and trying new things and trying to be excellent at, the things that I dive into. And I mean, I would say that a lot of that comes from like a farming mentality of like, what you put in is what you're going to get out. Like the work that you put into the farm is what you're going to reap later. And kind of with like a big picture, focus, or holding that big picture idea, but being able to put in like the, menial tasks every day in order to kind of get to that big goal. So I think I've taken that attitude, from farm life. And, yeah, when I did get into cycling, I mean, it was from like, club riders just encouraging me or thinking that I would be a great racer. And then, jumping into BC Super Week and doing well against some pros. And then, it was actually the cycling, my cycling club, leader connected me with the Cycling Canada president, and he had put in a good word for me at the World Championships to like a North American team, who then they called me, and I got the opportunity. And then I did a project with Cycling Canada in Europe for a couple of weeks, just racing crits and kermesses in Belgium, and winning a lot of races there, which then I think that's really what showed like my aptitude to be able to bridge North American style of racing to European style of racing. And then I've raced the World Championships with the national team every year of my career. Maybe a couple of projects that they've done. I think like for a national team, the most important thing is that they provide development opportunities for juniors, U23s, or athletes starting out, and really introducing them to European racing as soon as possible. Because if you want to be the best, you have to race against the best, and the best are racing on the European circuit. I think like a lot of it was just like my talent, of my attitude of just like being super aggressive in the races. Like I just have this real desire to win. So, and no fear. And I think that really helped, like jumping into the European style of racing where it's like chaos and crazy. I think a lot of times like North Americans come over to Europe and it's a bit intimidating jumping into small road, big peloton kind of racing. But yeah, I think, what's been great is like we've always had, some exceptional riders come out of Canada. And I think, especially on the women's side has really held up Canadian cycling for a long time. But then, we get like a character like Mike Woods out, who's a great ambassador for cycling, and then was, at the forefront of like, can he win a Tour de France stage? And then, I think there's quite actually an age gap from sort of, my era, and there's like Leah Kirchman and Caroline Cannuel. And then, Mike Woods and some of the guys there that have been racing a long time, there's kind of quite an age gap from then to the next up and coming athletes. And so whether, what was why is that? I don't know. Like why, there wasn't much good development happening in that time or whatever. But yeah, Derek G has been a great guy to watch perform. He also is just such a lovely human character. He really just wanted to get in and give it his best. He's got a really good, balance of perspective, which is like, I like to think a Canadian trait. He did some of the track program with the national team. Everyone knows his dad as being a super great racer, masters racer, out in Ottawa area. And, so I think, he comes from a good bike race family. He's got a lot of talent, and it was, really cool to see just like all that he could accomplish or get after at the Giro. I think what I loved is that, he just wanted to finish the race. And then, when he was in that first breakaway and getting second, it was like, wow, this was like something I could never have dreamed of. And what a great thing. But by the end on that, whatever stage 14 or wherever it was, when, it was his third time actually riding in the breakaway, and he gets second, and he's so upset because now he believes so much that he could win and that he should win. And I just love that change of perspective and how confidence grew from just being, happy to be there, to now having this, being able to set goals and believe that he can do it. I just thought that was such a, you could see basically the character development, the career development in, just the span of the 2 weeks there. So and he's super on form for the time, this time, and also the opportunity to ride the Giro when you didn't have a leader allows opportunities for things like to ride for breakaways or to try stuff. Will he get that same sort of opportunity again in other years? Maybe not, but he's got a long career ahead of him, I think.
So that initial kernel really of the national program getting you to Europe for that first season of racing sounds like it was key, that to basically elevate you from BC Super Week to now you're in Europe racing. I guess Derek G has the advantage. Maybe we need to lean on Sylvan Adams to start a women's team, but it definitely helps the men to have like a Canadian who runs, a very, very successful and wealthy men's team. So if we could get him running a women's team, that would be even better. But it's because
that's true. You need to have people that help you bridge that gap or make the connection, because, for me, I was winning races in North America. And so, okay, once you're a winner, everyone loves a winner, and maybe they'll take a chance on you. But still, even coming from North America and racing where you can win here, it's still not the same in Europe. And people know that. They don't see how you're racing. So even to get a contract offer that way is still pretty tough. What you need is either people, from your national team that are able to make, character connections for you and really advocate for you, or it's, someone like Sylvan Adams that really wants to have Canadian athletes on the team and then, talks to the people to try to, figure out who those people would be to give them that chance, and give them a chance before they have any, big results. I think that's really important for the development of our Canadian athletes.
And Alison, you mentioned you like to race really aggressively. You have a high degree of self-belief, and there's this very steep delta between racing in North America. And as you said, you were dropped into these kermesses in Belgium or wherever. When you headed over there for those first races, did you have a high degree of self-belief, and were you looking forward to like being thrown into that mosh, or were you kind of scared?
No, I went there to win, because I think, so, my perspective is almost like coming from a small town. I was like the big fish in a little pond. I could win anything in any sport. I could enter it and I was going to be successful. But then, you level up to another, a provincial wide level or a national level. And then I wasn't going to be able to win those things. But what happened to me was that I created such a belief that, well, anything I entered, I could just win. And whether it was like, okay, maybe it takes some time to sort of figure out, but I want to figure it out quick. And, how have I been winning other things? Well, by being aggressive, by working hard, and by like giving a full energy, not backing away, but entering into these situations with a full attitude, or all in. And so I think I won a bunch of small races, and so really I just took that like, yeah, I think I could be, I should be able to win any race. But I would take that attitude, and I would never, shy away from like, oh, in this kermesse, there's Marianne Vos. Like, she's quite a big deal. I just took it as like, it doesn't matter. This is how I've learned to win bike races. I'm going to take that in. I just want to win, and I believe I can do it. And so when I came into the kermesses, I was never, shying away from, oh, maybe I need to learn a little bit more. I just was like, you kind of take that, you learn that you can win, and you learn that in like small, that small town sort of idea. But then now you've developed this winning attitude or this winning mindset. And then it didn't matter what environment I was put in, I was still taking that winning attitude. And so, going to kermesses, or even my first year racing, all the World Cups, or the, what are now the World Tour races in the spring. I remember I was racing just like Lizzie Dinan, or she was Lizzie Armistead at the time. She was world champion. And I was basically riding every position she was riding. I was riding like I was the world champion. But then, we would get to that 20K to go, and all of a sudden I had nothing left because, I was doing too much work. I was riding like I had the fitness of a world champion, but I was not the world champion. And so then I totally, died. But part of it was just like learning to finesse that a little bit. But also I think, that self-belief, really has taught me a lot in the racing. So how do you race like a champion? And then it also has, set me up for some bigger race wins as well.
That's fascinating. I think about this a lot. Like, I have a friend who grew up racing in New Mexico, which is not like a hotbed of cycling. And he always thinks he's going to win every race. Like, even if, a world champion is there, where I'm like, well, I don't know, man. Like, I don't think you can, but it's like having that mentality where it's the same thing, where it's like, should you go to a super elite private school for high school and be, just one in the bunch of many smart pupils, or is it better just to be the smartest person in your town? And it's almost like you've learned the skill of confidence first, and then now you're leveraging that in these big races and just letting your fitness catch up. It's really interesting, because I think it kind of goes counter to, what most, like young parents like Andrew and I, our children are away at elite private schools because we just want them to succeed. It's all we think about is them being the next president. That's a joke, by the way. They're not. But there is a pressure when you're a young parent to like, your kid, my kid is behind. He's 3 years old. He needs to get away to a basketball camp if he wants to be a really good basketball player. But it's fascinating to see you've really succeeded at the opposite of that, just like learning to dominate people, and like learning the skill of winning and domination and confidence, and then learning the other stuff later has worked really well for you.
Yeah. Whether that will work like as a theory that we could implement for everyone, I don't know.
No, we're doing a course. We got books are being written as we speak on this. We're all gonna just go around doing speaking circuits on this now.
Yeah.
But I did have a coach in when I was at Trinity Western University, and Laurier Primo, and he was the athletics director for Scotland Athletics, and they had done a study basically where like they had found a lot of their top athletes in the running world were from these like small towns, and it was like it seemed like a bit of a trend, and it was like, well, why would that be? And some of the theory that kind of came out was that, you come from a small town. One, you have so much space outdoors, so you're more physical as a child. So you're not just inside, or, have to be inside the city or whatever. You have just more space. So you become more of a robust athlete, just by access to easy outdoor time. And then the other was that you learn to win, and then you learn a winning mindset already, and what it takes to win, and how it feels to win. And then you take that. And so when level up into another, level or harder competition, you're actually still taking that winning mindset, and you know what it's like to win. And so then you learn how to do it faster. So that was always something that I thought was really interesting, that they kind of, that, I feel like I could apply to myself, or maybe I took that theory and I just thought that's a great theory. I am going to manifest that in my life. But yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, I guess it works better in low skill sports, or but you don't see many NBA players come from small towns, because I guess you just it's a kinetic game, and the more you watch people play, the more your neural pathways build like different ways to play the game. But in running or cycling,
Maybe, but we can also see like hockey, like kids in small rural town, Canadian towns, there's not much else to do in the town besides just like be outside on the pond or in the street playing hockey. And so you just like learn these skills over and over. You have the time to just like spend 5 hours just doing it as play, but there's not other things that distract you from doing other things. So I think that would depend. It would be interesting to look maybe at other sports, or even like basketball, like where was there, kids that just spent like hours and hours just like in the driveway because they had nothing else to do. Is that because it's a small town thing, or it's just like access to more outdoor time? Yeah, I don't know.
That is interesting, huh? We'll have to think about this. Yeah, you're right, because I guess hockey's different too, because it's almost like the bigger town you live in, the more expensive access to ice can be. So the smaller town you're in, you can be on the ice for longer for a more affordable price, perhaps.
Yeah, I think you can look for these tips in Spencer's forthcoming book, The Talent Code 2.0. And something that I'm curious about, to maybe bring this back to the tour. So Alison, as you mentioned, the team has objectives at the tour. I'm sure, as you mentioned, you would love to get a stage win, and you now have this Paris-Roubaix win under your belt as well. I'm curious what happens within the team when you have that victory. Is there kind of a commutative property of confidence where the team's belief in its ability to win elevates? And how do you think about that as you head into the tour and kind of building a coalition of confidence around you to get that stage win?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I kept saying was my hope out of winning, and winning the way I did, with boldness and confidence and self-belief. And I really wanted that to just like take over the whole team. And I was hoping to see that other riders from my team would take on that mentality, because in the next races they would do. Because right after that race, I'm even having conversations with my teammates, and they were just like, you could see that they were inspired and amazed that like, wow, like you took that into your own hands and you were really bold in a way that we thought was not going to be the way to win. And then you did win. And I just hope that, I kept saying to everyone too, really like specifically like this, this is how we win races. This could be you. You have to, try something and whatever. But you know what? And so far in the races, I just haven't seen that from my teammates. And I just like, yeah, how, as much as I would want to inspire that same attitude and whatever, I haven't seen it spilled over yet. I mean, I think I've still taken so much confidence from this, and even in some of the other races that I've been doing, I've been like starting the echelons and leading things out and going on the attack, and still trying to even like continue to be lead by example, I guess, for my teammates, because I still really believe that this is like the best way to race, and yeah, how we can pull off, some more results and stuff. But I haven't quite seen that in my team yet, so I don't know what it would take to get everyone really like on board with that. I think a lot what it has done, even within Cycling Canada, some of the girls there too have been like, wow, okay, if you could do this, I can do this. But what more has happened is that my teammates have more belief in me as a team leader, to win races, and And so like, I think, if I put my hand up for, that I really want to win a stage in the tour, for example, I think my teammates will really committed. They'll have the belief that I can do that. And when you have a leader that you really believe can win, then you as a teammate, a lot of times you can pull out even bigger, better performances from yourself. With that belief. So if maybe at first it starts that they, believe in me more that it's possible, and then, really confident in me. And then hopefully then that translates, they've practiced that and, seen that they can do more with the belief, in their leader. And then maybe they take that belief into themselves and bring that confidence out in races. So yeah, I guess we'll just see. That's what I keep preaching to everybody. And we'll see how it translates into bike racing, I guess.
And my last question is, are you back in Canada for the national championships? Is that your next race?
Yeah. They're June 23rd, 25th, and 26th. In Edmonton. So it's just like a couple hours from the Bison Ranch. So looking forward to having, my family, my nephews and nieces all come, and some childhood friends and people come out to see the Paris-Roubaix champion racing in Edmonton, local.
And do you have teammates in that race with you?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to having Sarah Poitevin. She's a Canadian, also from Alberta. She's been one of my best teammates actually throughout the spring. Just like really knows how to ride as a teammate, like a super domestique, absolutely. And even in Paris-Roubaix, she was my best teammate. It was either going to be her or I that was in that breakaway when we were riding that day, and she really like set up some of the moments for me to get into that breakaway. So yeah, I'm looking forward to racing with her. It'll make the race at nationals much easier to manage, or just help our odds of taking home the win.
So there is like, I've often wondered with like Team Sky or Ineos, like there's so many of them. Like, do they go in? Do most people go in with a team plan to national championships, or is it like this is a free for all? Like everyone's just trying to win, and like we see who wins, or does it just depend?
Yeah, I mean, we'll look at the course. I mean, it'll be dictated by her and I. We won't have a directive from the team or anything like that. It'll be basically how we wanna race. A lot of people will argue that nationals is an individual race, but I mean, it's a team sport, and we want to see each other be successful. And for us and for the team, the team would just want to have the national champion, and they wouldn't care who it was. And I think also between me and Sarah, we're super supportive of each other, and I would I think it's I have zero tolerance for us not taking home the win, but I don't care who it is. So I think, we'll be able to, we know each other well enough to also know what our strengths are and how we could take home the win. And so we'll try to set that up in the various ways that we can.
Coach Jackson's had enough of losing. It's not an option.
That's right.
Are you guys like
not an option,
working on your own bikes, or do you get support from the team for that race?
Yeah, we'll be here on our own. We'll get support actually from our provinces. I'll ride with Cycling BC. When I started bike racing, it was out in BC, and so I've always connected with the provincial club in BC, and they always do a great job to offer support and be a follow car in the road race, and also a follow car in the time trial. So, but yeah, it's a pretty bare bones kind of thing. It's always funny sometimes, you go from world tour where everything is taken care of for you. You don't have to think at all. You just show up and you do what the job is, but you know that your bottles are going to be ready, your equipment's going to be good. You're going to have the big bus to chill in before you rock up to the race start. And here it's like, oh yeah, I remember what it was like when I first started, and you have to lube your own chain, and you have to try to remember these things. Like, what do I need to bring? Cause you don't ever have this checklist that you have, for a race start, because the team takes care of it. So it is funny a little bit going back to the humble roots, but also in a way it's good to just remember like, oh yeah, it's such a privilege to get to race at the World Tour, and that, all these things really make a difference for performance. But even without them, you can still pull off, a great ride in a race, and all those things can become just extra. Like, what is the minimum that you need in order to perform really well? And actually, it's you don't need a lot.
Have you previewed the course?
Yeah, well, we raced the same course. It's a little bit different, but we raced it a similar setup last year. It'll be it'll be Nationals will be in Edmonton for 3 years. So this will be the second year. We'll have another year that it'll be hosted by the event group in Edmonton. So yeah, I have seen it, know it pretty well. It's a good little course that goes in and out of the riverbed.
Do you want to call your shot?
Like where it's going to happen in the race?
Where's it going to go down? Where do you impose your will?
Well, anytime I can make the race hard, I'm going to make it hard. And then we're just going to thin out the group until the last moments of the race.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
Sounds like BWR Lawrence Wafer.
Yeah. Well, before you go, actually, now I've been meaning to ask you this. Since you grew up like in such a gravel heavy area, like, you invented gravel riding in many ways, just taking your road bike out on gravel. Like, do you plan on doing any gravel races, North American or European based, in the next few months or years, or are you just like solely focused on the road?
Yeah, I have a lot of goals still on the road, and like I love, like, when I go out on the gravel bike, it really it reminds me that bike riding is fun. When I'm on the road bike, a lot of times I think like this is training. When I'm on the gravel bike, it just is like euphoria. It's just so fun. So I like that I have that discipline that I can keep as just fun. So to target some like racing, then it would change that perspective a little bit of why I'm on the bike. So I like that I have that change of discipline. But I mean, I love racing, so I'll race anything. So yeah, to hop into some gravel stuff, I think would just be really fun. But I also just love like the atmosphere of gravel riding, that it really is like a community thing. And road racing is can be quite cutthroat. It doesn't have that same type of community, but that gravel does. So I love being in and around that community, and I think like for sure I'm going to be like, now that BWR has one in Victoria and stuff too. I think that's super cool, and also just like a chance to get to ride these new roads and explore something new. And I love meeting people at the races and stuff. So I think we'll sprinkle some of that gravel racing in my future. But yeah, I've got a lot of just road racing goals to accomplish first.
All right, well, we should probably let you go. You've been very generous with your time, but do you have any last questions, Andrew, before we take off?
I think that this is the logical point in time, Alison, when Spencer and I invite you to come do the BWR waffle ride with us in Lawrence, Kansas in mid-October. I'm sure that would be perfect for your 2024 preparation. So we'll just throw that out there. And we also want to let our fans know, yes, there is a collaboration dance coming on Instagram stories soon. We're working on it. Spencer's cringing, but it's going to go down.
And it's a little bit less of a lift, but if you cannot make it to the race, we will be calling you the night before for a pep talk.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. Good. And
thanks so much, Alison.
Best of luck at Nationals.
Cheers. Thanks. My pleasure.
Thanks for listening. Find Alison Jackson on Instagram at AllieActionJackson. Find that link in the show notes. I make this podcast free to encourage more people to have fun doing hard things. Before you go to do something hard, because that is a fun thing to do, please take a moment to rate this show 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. I'd really appreciate it. Hit subscribe, leave a positive review, and share this episode with someone you care about. Choose the Hard Way is a Big Truck production. Anthony Palmer at Palm Tree Podco is the producer and editor, and Emily Miles is head of digital and marketing. Jeffrey Nebellini is the world-renowned design genius behind our brand identity. Thank you, Jeffrey, and the creator of the Choose the Hard Way logo. The content for this show is created by me, Andrew Vance.